We will do plenty of exercises today, and all of those exercises are designed to make you feel more comfortable, just like a normal neurotic individual after therapy. Most of us, actually, most of us humans are neurotics. And we're either treated neurotics or untreated neurotics. Of course, there are also much stronger personality disorders, but we're not going to talk about them here. We will be dealing with neurosis, because all forms of anxiety, concerns, worries, if it's counterproductive, and we'll talk about what counterproductive and productive anxiety is, it's all neurosis. All right. A lot of psychologists consider the 21st century a century of anxious people. Our instincts have become more numb. We stopped being in touch with our inner self. It's hard for us to identify our feelings, sensations, emotions. And when we are unable to process our feelings, we fill this gap with anxiety, worry, feeling uneasy. So what do I want to say? We will move slowly, and this subject is very anxious. When I was preparing this webinar, I had a few anxiety attacks, and I know how to handle it, and I know the tasks that anxiety puts before me, and I will elaborate further on examples. How great it is, ladies, or maybe there are men here too, when we can identify what exactly is happening to us and how much more efficient we become in decision making. When we are anxious, when we worry about something, we tend to take wrong decisions. And my goal here is that by the end of this webinar, I want each and every one of you to have a set of instruments of how to work with oneself. And for the Academy students, those are the key tools for working with their clients. This webinar is very practical, and we will do a lot of exercises. And since this webinar is about anxiety, I suggest we slow down as much as possible. So we will be moving forward like turtles. Yes, like little cute turtles, and there is no rush. And we will be processing our emotions and feelings. I hope you have prepared your anxiety and your concerns for the upcoming exercises. We will need them. If not, it's okay as well. You can remember on point and write down the exercises to use them later, to apply to your inner state, to the exercises. But it's super productive, of course, if you work with it right now, because the first time is the best time when you are going through some deep processes. It doesn't mean the group therapy is better or worse, or an individual session is better or worse. No, each of you will be doing the practices by yourselves, and those aren't group processes. Those are the processes that are happening inside you. Now, what is anxiety? Anxiety, like I told you in the promotion materials, is energy. And the first step to cure, to treat anxiety is to identify the anxiety itself, to identify the symptom of anxiety and normalize it. What kind of thinking helps us normalize it? Oftentimes people, when worried or anxious, their inner engine, this inner engine of anxiety is inside each of us, right? Oftentimes people are ashamed of it or they feel guilty about it. Especially if someone tells them, don't worry, what's the big deal? Or like, stop worrying. These words do not stop the anxiety. It's impossible. To the contrary, when the anxiety is being stopped by other people by saying, hey, come on, relax, don't bother, this actually only amplifies your anxiety. Because when they say, don't do this, and you aren't processing it in the right way that we will learn today and practice, you start feeling even more anxious because of the guilt and shame that you're feeling that you're doing something wrong. This is the majority of us. This is the majority of people. That's why what's important is, first of all, we identify the symptom, that this is what's happening to me right now, and we normalize it. By which kind of thoughts? First of all, anxiety is a form of energy. But what kind of energy? What stands behind it? And how do we transform this energy into something constructive? We will talk about it today. But what's important is, first, to give your anxiety some space. Neurotic people always try to avoid this feeling, trying to replace it with alcohol, drugs. Someone starts obsessive compulsive activities like rubbing the pan 3 times, etc., etc. Or, for example, people who like extreme sports. Extreme sports actually are all about unprocessed emotions, unprocessed anxiety. Yes, all the compulsive activities, yes, also food, procrastinations, sexual addictions. This is all about that. So when we start replacing anxiety with all the above mentioned activities, all the rituals and work, we only worsen the situation. The anxiety only grows. Panic attacks are accumulated anxiety, inability to handle your inner conflicts, lack of understanding of what's going on with me. Panic attack is just a culmination of our inner anxiety and inability to deal with it. Right. So we always have to remember that anxiety was evolutionary. It was evolving with the humanity, and it's a normal human feeling. And it's the most important. We need to give space. What does it mean to give space? It means to acknowledge that fact that I'm anxious right now. I'm worried. I'm nervous. And this is normal because this is an evolutionary process. But the question here is not about feeling or not feeling anxious, but more about how and when to utilize it properly and where it works. Because if you think about it, and by the way, the more anxious you are, and we are all born with a different level of anxiety, different levels. And the more energy the person has, the more anxious they will be. And now think about people who are super who are super anxious. I'm sure you know such people, and you can imagine how much energy they really have, enormous amounts. And maybe some of you is a very anxious person, but just because you don't know how to handle this anxiety and you're unable to see your real energy level, to release this energy and utilize it well to enjoy life. All the greatest people are people with high levels of anxiety. Painters, musicians, poets, politicians, those are all extremely anxious people. But their anxiety has been moving them forward. It's been pushing them to create masterpieces, revelations, etc. So they have learned to process and service this anxiety. That's why bear in mind that anxiety is something valuable and there is value behind it. And further ahead, when we're doing our exercises, you will see what stands behind your anxiety. That's why when I told you to get your worries ready, to get your concerns ready, that's needed for you to be able to work with your anxiety here and now, so that it was efficient for you. However, to be honest, all the instruments that I will be giving you today are applicable to the point you are back on track, till it becomes automatic for you. Everything I have structured for you today, all of those exercises, all of the structure, is what every healthy individual has installed. Every healthy person who can feel anxious but knows how to handle it. I've built this webinar on 3 cornerstones. It's Jungian analysis, cognitive behavioral therapy, and Eastern practices, and Oriental studies. A bit of everything actually, but made it a great product which will help you every day. And all I will be giving you today is absolutely installed in me. And it doesn't mean that I do those exercises every day. No, this is automatic by now. So be sure that when you are going through those exercises and you're doing them, and be sure that after some time, all of this will become automatic for you, like a habit of a healthy way of thinking. Of course, picking your wound is also anxiety, yes. Any compulsive activities, when I can't stop doing something. I'm going to have to warn you that I will not be reading the comments today because I have plenty of information to give. I have a stack of papers here and I will be looking at my papers in order not to miss any valuable information. And I will not be paying attention to your comments. It's because it's either comments or everything else. And that's work. I will not turn the comments off because some of you right now is super anxious. Those who can't handle the anxiety they will be getting distracted by comments, and they feel better this way because comments are all some sort of therapeutic process. When I can't perceive information, I get worried, so I start commenting, and it's okay, I will be asking questions, and when I ask questions, I feel better. And that's why if someone doesn't like it, just don't read the comments. And if it's hard not to read well, this also says something about you. You cannot perceive information right now. It doesn't fit in your head because of your anxiety. There is anxiety. So this is how it works. Now, shame and guilt make us suppress our anxiety. The more we suppress it, the more it grows. Which is why, once again, we should understand that anxiety is normal. And the more anxiety I have, the more energy I have. Okay, so the first step, we need to acknowledge this anxiety and start observing it. We need to start observing and understanding that anxiety is some sort of a guide, and it's like our internal Buddha that is showing us the way. You have definitely had moments in your life that showed you through your anxiety that you should not go that way. And here the anxiety served as your intuition. I've had many moments like that, but I will share one of them. When I felt anxious regarding one person, and I didn't perceive it as a sign, and I went to connect with the person in question, while on the inside I was feeling that I shouldn't be going there. And notice the great benefit from the sudden anxiety. And we can call it intuition. And it's very important to recognize and acknowledge it. If you listen to your inner self, so yesterday, I'll tell you a story. Yesterday, I was invited to an event. Well, not really invited. Well, the admission was $3,000, right? So they told me all the information about the event, and I felt anxious. There was an anxiety building up inside me. Out of nowhere, like I was thinking something's not right, something is off. I know the presentation is great and all, but I'm feeling some sort of like something is funny, and I can't explain the inner anxiety about it. Turns out that these tickets were a scam, and people just decided to invite respectable and influential people like myself, right, and make money off of us. And all the other guests were just people from the street. And obviously I got my money back. I laughed at the situation. I went with some company, and we had a good laugh. And thank God we have enough energy to transform this unpleasant situation into a funny experience and laugh at ourselves. And on the way there yesterday, I was saying that something didn't feel right. And something was off. And indeed, the organization of the event didn't even cost $100, not even $400, to say nothing about 3,000. The most important thing here is that I spent my time on it. And even the money is secondary here. My time is very valuable for me, and if I decide to spend it, I need to spend it on something valuable. So as you can see, this anxiety of mine tried to warn me. But I still went because I was persuaded by someone else. Come on, let's go. What if it's a great event? It's not the money, you know, to skip a great event. Let's go and see. Maybe it's great. So I said, well, there is no guarantee that the event would be great. But in the end, we got the money back. All good. Right, now I want to ask you to please tell me the level of your anxiety right now. There are options. First, I have panic attacks now or had them in the past. Second, write your number in chat, please. So second, I am in constant anxiety, strong anxiety. Third, I get super anxious when stressed. I want to point out that this is a healthy behavior. Fourth, mild form of anxiety. And fifth, I'm not familiar with anxiety. I am calm and I'm in Zen. Okay, so I see 2s and 3s, constant severe anxiety, panic attacks in the past. I see, okay. Right, severe anxiety and stress, mild anxiety, okay. Being anxious when stressed. Once again, this is an absolutely healthy human behavior. Okay, now look. Please answer the questions now. I will not be looking at all the comments. This is also work that you are doing with yourselves. So it's important to answer the questions, or you can just take some notes and do whatever is more comfortable. I see the majority here is 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Okay, so now, please take a pen and paper. Pen and paper. Okay, here we have 5s here too. Great, great. Zen people. So please take a pen and paper, and now we will be doing the first healing exercises that helps ease the anxiety. Helps ease the anxiety, to lower your anxiety. Okay. Now please remember, what was the latest event that made you really anxious? What have you been worried about lately? Or maybe you're worried about it right now. Try to start feeling anxious. We can do that. We know how to trigger anxiety in us. We can start by remembering something or a certain state known to us, so you can trigger anxiety. So please start feeling worried. And now please write down on a piece of paper your worries in detail. How does it start? How does your anxiety start? I will not take too much time on this exercise. Please try to do it quicker now, but then you can finish it. You can work on it later. Especially the academy students who are watching right now. I always want to call you academics, my colleagues and coaches. When you work with your clients, please do this exercise with your clients in a more detailed way, in a deeper way. Okay, so describe your anxiety in detail. How does it start? Which thoughts come to your head? How does it resonate in the body? How does it resonate in the body? How does it affect your breathing? Write as many details as you possibly can. Don't write it for me, write it for yourself. Which thoughts trigger this anxiety? So right now it's important to write your recipe, your anxiety recipe on a piece of paper. How does it start? So I thought this or that. What happens to my body? What happens to my breath? What do I start doing? Maybe I start hassling around or grabbing things, or maybe I start drinking water, smoking. What do I do? Maybe I get an abdominal pain or a headache. What is your exact particular case? You each have a recipe of anxiety. Like every lady has a recipe of her pancakes, so I need your anxiety recipe. Maybe someone has terrifying thoughts, terrifying images. But actually the neurotic people actually usually have terrifying thoughts, not images. Because terrifying images, it's not neurosis. Write down your recipe as if you wanted to teach me to worry and be anxious by your recipe of anxiety. What should I do? Academy students need to ask their clients to teach them how to worry. So I'm saying, teach me how to worry. What happens to your breath? So my breathing is slowing down. How? Like that? Am I doing it right? So I need to follow. What's it with your stomach and the chest, shoulders, legs? And maybe I need to hunch down or something. Cold limbs, hassling. So you need to teach your client what anxiety is according to the recipe they write. So please, everyone, write down a recipe of how to be anxious as if you needed to teach your friend or me to worry and be anxious like you do that. Please write. After I've learned the exercise you gave at the Diamond webinar, I'm super happy. Of course, because that had a super powerful exercise based on the reincarnation of Rinpoche. Today we will also be doing a similar meditation, slightly different, but with a similar idea. I will teach you do it, and it's just an epic meditation. There is nothing better than that. It eliminates all the panic attacks. Yes, please keep writing your recipe. Teach others how to be anxious, sort of a manual. Like there are instructions how to bake a cake, so you are now writing a detailed instruction on a piece of paper about your anxiety. How and where it starts. Now we are in a therapeutic environment. I am now working with each and every one of you to ease and lower your anxiety. We have just passed the tests on the level of your anxiety. I saw only one, number 5 there. The rest of the people are with various levels of anxiety, including panic attacks. And now we are going to eliminate those states. So I have asked you to start worrying. You've triggered your anxiety, and you're starting to notice what's happening in the body. And when I started this webinar, I told you that the most important was to identify the symptom. To identify the symptom. And by doing these exercises, we are identifying the symptom. You're starting to notice how the anxiety works, how it works in you and with you. Okay, so you've written some symptoms. You can also add a bit to the list later. Make sure you do that. Of course, you feel a lot better now, but we will be triggering our anxiety with all of our exercises as long as we have a little bit of anxiety left, but it will be going, leaving us with every exercise we do. But we need to feel it and to practice today, here and now. By the way, I can't promise you that we will finish today, because there's a lot of information and I don't want to rush things. I don't want to give you just the techniques to get rid of the anxiety. I would like for us to work with anxiety more thoroughly from top to bottom. And if need be, we will stretch our webinar for another day, okay? Right. So what do people do when they are anxious? What do they do? We want to push it away. We're scared. We're hating it. We want to get rid of it. Right? And I want you to understand that you are too careless towards yourself. You are not kind enough towards yourself in the moment of anxiety. You aren't listening to your body, to what your anxiety is telling you. You aren't interacting with it. You just want to push it away, suppress it, so it wouldn't be happening to you. You are not being nice towards your own selves. And of course, you can't hear what the anxiety is telling you. So what do we do in this case? Let's do an exercise and trigger our anxiety again. Any concern, worry, anxiety of yours, which is always by your side. And take this anxiety now and start worrying. Just start doing it. Worry. Identify the frightening thoughts, and now imagine that this anxiety is turning into a baby. And it minimizes in size. It minimizes in size to the level of a little baby. And you are holding this baby in your arms, and you start comforting it. You start saying something like, "Oh, you'll be okay." You explain to the baby through the melody of your voice, because the baby may not be able to understand the words yet, but it understands the intonation. You explain in a comfortable way, in a comforting way, that everything is okay, that there's nothing to worry about. Everything will be fine. And you are very kind to this baby. You are holding it in your arms, close to you. And you're making the baby feel safe, and everything will be fine. Everything will be all right. With this short exercise, I would like for you to understand that you are extremely unkind towards yourself when you start to worry. You need to realize that at the moment you feel the most anxious, you need to give yourself more understanding. Tell yourself that this too shall pass. Not to beat yourself up, not to kick away that anxiety. No need to run away scared. Just get closer to it. Get it closer to you. turn it into a baby and comfort it. This is one of the best exercises that will help you handle your anxiety. To be calm, you need to calm your inner child, right? Everything comes, everything goes. And you know what? The most important thing is that anxiety and worries do not identify who we are. This is just a normal evolutionary thing, evolutionary feeling, and it doesn't identify who you are in this world. There are other things that identify us. Fear, pain, shame, and anxiety do not identify your personality. These are just feelings we gain through evolution. With this tenderness and love, treat yourself when you start to worry. And now we will talk about productive and counterproductive anxiety. This is super important. We will be writing and defining. This is why I have asked you to prepare your worries and anxiety, so we could now identify the productive ones and the counterproductive ones. The productive anxiety signals danger. It makes us take action. Counterproductive anxiety creates an illusion of control. Control of the situation by obsessive thinking. Obsessive thinking is also a disorder, by the way. When I keep thinking about the same thing over and over and over for days. For example, in my case, was it productive or counterproductive anxiety? I'm going to tell you. When I was preparing this webinar, I felt anxious. And I thought, what is this anxiety about? And since I already know how to work with it, I started talking to my anxiety. Figuratively speaking, of course, I didn't say like, hey, anxiety, what's up? I didn't say that. On the inside, I started an automatic dialogue. And I am realizing that I have so much information to give, and I cannot fit all of it in one day. And I have announced already that it would be a one-day webinar. Maybe people have planned to watch it on a certain day. I know that there will be a recording, but I still understand that it wouldn't fit in one day. And I make my decision, I make up my mind to stretch it to 2 days. And my anxiety leaves. So in this very moment, my anxiety was productive. It was warning me that this cannot be a one-day event. There are way too many exercises, and it's impossible to fit it all in 2 hours. And on the third hour, we would all pass out, and the information won't be entering our brain at all. Counterproductive anxiety, what would it look like? When I was preparing the webinar, I also felt slightly worried when I didn't make any notes after a certain time. But I told myself, okay, I have a certain plan, and I will be making notes at this a certain time. Okay, so this is another example of a productive anxiety. Counterproductive anxiety, what would it be? Oh, I'm so lazy. Normal people get prepared before time and get their information straight, make a presentation, etc., and I'm not as good as them, blah, blah, blah. And I would start procrastinating and I would overwhelm myself with all these thoughts instead of taking action. So you do understand what counterproductive anxiety is, right? Neurotic people in general, they are anxious, and that's most of us on the planet Earth. And they are obsessed with two thoughts. First thought is that my anxiety is driving me crazy, meaning all the time they're thinking how anxious they are. And second thought is I have to be worried to control everything. There is an illusion that if I worry and I'm anxious, then I can control the situation. But the paradox here is that the fact that you are losing control and you are getting obsessed that there is something wrong and you feel scared and guilty, and it's super hard to be in control and be efficient. This is severe pressure on the brain and on the body when I'm trying to worry and control things all together, and I lose tremendous amounts of energy and I go to zero or even below zero. And this is all followed by a difficult recovery and eventually burnout. So the more we worry, the less we are in control. Neurotic people are very afraid to let go of their anxiety. Anxiety is their protective mechanism, like I'm in control. Of course, they don't think like that, and I'm now generalizing, of course. Those aren't specific thoughts, those are internal thoughts. I use my anxiety to control my surroundings. This is how a neurotic person lives. You can feel it yourself. For a neurotic person, their anxiety is a form of a strategy. I am responsible, I am conscious, I'm in control. But friends, what is it? What is being responsible and conscious? This is when I am doing something I have to be doing. Right? Not when I'm overwhelming myself with thoughts and destructing myself. Being conscious and responsible is when I do what I have to do. It's important to learn to differentiate productive and counterproductive anxiety. All right. Productive anxiety helps identify the problems which we can resolve immediately. Meaning, plan something and take action. Or, for example, someone is driving and sees that the fuel indicator is blinking. You get an impulse to worry and you understand that you need to fill up the tank. That's normal, right? And you need to go to the nearest gas station. Or, for example, like I said, I started to worry after 4 or 5 days of making the webinar and I didn't make any notes, pom pom. Immediately, I scheduled the day when I would sit down and get everything ready. And for the webinar, I have to systemize everything, and that's it. My anxiety leaves because I have scheduled the time when I would sit down and do everything. Counterproductive anxiety. Now you will start seeing yourself. What if, this is usually how it starts in your head, what if I come over to his place and he doesn't want to talk to me? These are the questions that have no definite answer, like a riddle, question about the meaning of life. These are the questions of a neurotic person. What if he's cheating on me? Right? Or searching for the ideal option. get that people who don't own their own business are the people who are looking for an ideal business. This is this is not when I'm choosing something and I allow myself to make a mistake and grow on those mistakes. No, I won't sing if I'm not a Beyonce. What if I lose all my money? See, this existential question, which in reality isn't existential. Those are just counterproductive anxiety questions. And I will ask you now to write down the definitions of productive anxiety and counterproductive anxiety. Getting nervous and worried, to me, it's all the same. All the same. Anxiety. Okay, please write down. First, counterproductive anxiety. Counterproductive anxiety, what is that? First, you are anxious because you have no answers to your questions. Like, why do I need to go through this? What if he's cheating on me? I have mentioned this one. You are worrying about questions you have no answers to. Second, you're worried due to the chain reaction of the events. A chain of what ifs. So, for example, you left the house and you start worrying like, okay, I left the iron on such and such, I get to work, and the neighbors will call me, and the house is on fire. I come back, everybody is burned down, and the house is burned down to the ground, the police is everywhere. So this chain of events, right? Chain of events. Counterproductive anxiety. You decline a solution because it isn't ideal. I'm not a Beyonce, so I will not be a singer. Even though I have great skills, etc., but I will not go on stage because I'm no Beyonce. So you're always looking for the best, for the perfect solution. For example, you're looking for a hotel, and you are looking for a hotel for longer than your vacation lasts. Get it? You are nervous and you're anxious and you're tired from all this search and booking. You're choosing a hotel for over a month for a vacation of 4 days. Come on. This is counterproductive anxiety. You think you have to worry till you feel less worried. This is a utopia, of course, you can understand, because the end of the anxiety is actually the end of the anxiety. Stop worrying, otherwise you will be sitting there and worrying till you stop worrying. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. You think you have to worry because you are not in control of everything. Thing is, we are unable to control everything. This is impossible. You need to understand it. That's why you are in constant anxiety. Now we will move on to the productive anxiety, when being worried and anxious is normal. Normal. Okay, so you have a question which does have a potential answer. The answer exists in the universe. You just need to find it and take action. You have a question with an answer that exists in the universe. You are focused on a certain event, not on the chain of events. If I left the iron plugged in, I need to call someone who is at home and ask them to turn it off, or if there's nobody home, I will go back home and check it and will turn it off. And not obsess about it, like, oh, I'm going. And the thoughts of a neurotic person is to keep walking or driving and while obsessing about all of this, that everything is burned down to the ground and crazy chain of events. A normal person, a person without severe anxiety, will just think. They'll just think, did I leave the iron on? And then I'll resolve the issue. You are ready to take a decision that may not be ideal. You're ready to take a decision that's not ideal. You are not using your anxiety as a call to action. Do you recognize yourself? When I start worrying, if my husband is cheating on me, okay, what is his cell phone password? And he didn't even give you a reason to be jealous. And you're thinking about hijacking his cell phone. And now you're looking through his cell phone, checking his social networks. And this is all your anxiety in full force when you're doing this. There's no reason. But your anxiety makes you obsess about this question and take action. There is no reason, but you're already resolving the issue. Have you recognized yourself? Next, productive anxiety. Productive anxiety, when you are not using your anxiety as a push to action. Next, you acknowledge that there are things which you can control, and there are things that you cannot control. Neurotic people think that they can control the entire world. They're trying to save everyone, giving advice. They feel the need to give a piece of their mind to everybody, because it all says about their anxiety and willingness to control. A normal person with a healthy anxiety levels, productive anxiety, starts getting worried, and they say to themselves, I am unable to save the world. I am unable to feed all the children, heal all the animals. I'm not going to save the whole world. I'm not almighty. I'm not this giant, enormous God, like the neurotic person who thinks that they are God, and on a subconscious level, they need to take part in everything. And that's why productive anxiety is when you feel anxious and you understand that you are not in control of the world. What I can control, I invest the energy of anxiety in there, and I take action, right? And if I cannot control the situation, I do not feel anxious. So the rule is like this. If the problem is resolvable, resolve it. If the problem is unresolvable, don't worry about it. This rule has to be located on the most visible places in your house, your mirror, your door, your fridge, etc. If the problem is resolvable, resolve it. Don't worry. And if it's unresolvable, stop worrying. And those who are always thinking and overthinking and doing nothing, you need to order a wallpaper with the words, take action. Take action. Or a phone screen or a lock screen. Do it. You put it everywhere. You put it everywhere. Stop obsessing and overthinking about it, about everything, and take action. Print wallpapers. Those who like wallpapers in the house, those who like to obsess and overthink, Order a special wallpaper for your house. Because in pathopsychology, this is called obsessive disorder. This is actually a serious disorder. I might be telling you in a funny way, but this is actually a very serious disorder. But how can you not be laughing right now? Invest your anxiety into action, because you need to remember that anxiety is turbocharged with energy. These aren't just words, because the psyche is processing anxiety in a special way. It requires a lot of energy, which you could release for some other great activities, real activities. We're learning to deal with it. We're learning to deal with this. Now we're going to do another exercise. Okay, let's get back to one of your anxieties and start triggering it. Start triggering it. Focus on your anxiety. Or maybe it's written somewhere in your memos, your anxiety, your concerns. Please try to remember the last thing you were worried about. Write it down and look at it. And now look if this concern is productive or counterproductive using the information I've given you. Is this productive or not? Which actions, in particular, have you taken to resolve this issue? Which actions have you taken? Is there something that's stopping you from taking action? What is it? Write it down. And try to direct counterproductive anxiety to the resolvable activities, resolvable issues. All right, now, no matter your religious beliefs, if you're Christian, Muslim, or Catholic, Jewish, Hindu, etc., etc., all the sacred books are pure psychology, actually. Just in metaphors, in myths, stories. So now I want to read the prayer of the Optina elders. Please listen to it. Grant unto me, O Lord, that with peace of mind I accept what I cannot change. Grant unto me, O Lord, the courage to change what I can't change. Grant unto me, O Lord, the wisdom to tell one from the other. I hope you understand where we have productive and counterproductive anxiety here. Grant unto me, O Lord, that with peace of mind I accept what I cannot change. This is something that I cannot control, and grant unto me, O Lord, the courage to change what I can change. This is about the productive anxiety, to change what I can't change. And wisdom to tell one from the other, to tell them apart. The fact that I cannot save the world from the things that I can do. Now I will give you a very effective exercise, a home task actually, that you will need to do. You will need to do that to work with your anxiety. So it's called an encounter with my anxiety. It's an encounter or a date with my anxiety. So what do? You pick a time for your anxiety, when you will dedicate some time of your life to your anxiety, for example, 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., you will need to sit down and write out the things that worry you. You will have to do that every single day for at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks. At the time of writing down your concerns and anxiety, it is prohibited to calm yourself down. I want to show you this sign. It's forbidden to calm yourself down in this exercise. To the contrary, you need to start being more and more anxious and trigger this anxiety. Trigger this anxiety. Any moment during the day or night, when you start feeling anxious, what do you need to do? You need to take a flashcard, not during your date with your anxiety, any other time, okay? You need to take a flashcard and write down. You need to have those flashcards on you all the time. You need to write down your anxiety. By the way, colleagues, my academy students, you can ask your clients to write down the specifics of their anxiety and then bring it to you for the session. So with these cards, you receive your clients, and if they are in for a long-term therapy or coach sessions, so you do not ignore this anxiety, but you just write it down, and you know that you have an encounter or a date with your anxiety at 8 p.m. So first I write down this anxiety, this concern. For example, I'm afraid that he's gonna leave me, or I fear that I'm a bad mother, or what else is there? What if I have cancer or AIDS or whatever? Or so all of your mental cockroaches should be written on those flashcards, and you put it somewhere, and at 8 p.m. you have your date with your anxiety, and you're all prepared. You take your flashcard and you worry up to 30 minutes, for up to 30 minutes, depending on your symptom. If it's very strong, then 30 minutes is good. You can set the alarm for 30 minutes and sit and worry. Push out this anxiety without trying to calm yourself down. If your anxiety is light, is mild, then 15 minutes would be enough. And this is your home task for 2 weeks, to sit and to worry, to have your encounters with your anxiety. What kind of an exercise is this? This exercise puts you in control of your anxiety. Not your anxiety is in control of you. You have turned the tables. Your anxiety is no longer in control of you. You control your anxiety. And now what? You will start noticing that it's boring to worry. And it's so hard to push out those thoughts, and eventually you will really get bored with anxiety. and the anxiety will stop coming on dates with you. And here you will see that you're not anxious. It's not, anxiety is not you. You get separated. Anxiety is separate from you, and that's why at 8 p.m. I invite this object of anxiety on a date with me. I look at it, and I look into the eyes, and it turns out I'm not one with anxiety. Since I'm looking at it, so it's in front of me, so I'm looking at it. So it's a separate being. Yes, when a man is asking you out on a date, yes, you say, sorry, I already have a date with my anxiety. And the most interesting is to see your insight. When you're taken by your anxiety, you think, God, I have a billion of concerns. And when you look at your flashcards, you will see that instead of those numerous obsessive thoughts, you have up to 10 concerns, or even less. And then you will lower your anxiety to a minimum, because you will understand that you don't have a whole load of concerns. You only have 3, and as per your flashcards. Or maybe I have only 5 of them. So that billion of concerns that you thought that you had just fall out, because you tend to think that you are a problematic person with tons of concerns, and you are obsessing about this and that, and you will see that it's always the same thing. 10 concerns maximum. 10 concerns maximum, not 250 million. So your job here is to give your anxiety some space. This is exactly what a neurotic person is avoiding. They are running away from this anxiety. And you are just in a dialogue with it, and it will be great as well to ask your anxiety, what is it about? Is it productive or not? Or, for example, release your anxiety in a dance, or in art, or write a poem, or draw something. Because basically, you just need to process this anxiety by allowing it some space. Not by suppressing it, but by giving it space in dancing, in art, or in some other activities. Neurotics suffer because they are not giving their anxiety space. They are not. Give it space. And anxiety will start. Anxiety is energy, right? It is energy. Let this energy be. Let it live. The symptom of anxiety is a call from your subconsciousness. And our subconsciousness is trying to reach out to us by means of anxiety. There is always something important behind this anxiety. Anxiety is energy, but you need to identify this energy correctly. That's why use flashcards, different practices, draw it out or dance it out. Give it space. This is very important. Give it space. So when I'm listening to my anxiety, I detach from it. Because if there is something in front of me, I can hear it, right? When I'm hearing something, when I'm listening to it, it's a separate object, right? So which is why I detach from this anxiety. Okay, so anxiety makes us focus on something negative. It kind of changes the importance of something. We start exaggerating, and we always see a bad outcome in this anxiety. And this is why all the other outcomes are devalued by us. They kind of disappear. We only see one bad outcome. Evolution actually had to take part in this. Our brain is not all that positive originally. It remembers this negativity better because negative things tend to be dangerous. And our brain remembers them in order to avoid danger in the future. This ruins the balance of things. And now I'm going to suggest we do an exercise to bring that balance back, to balance out our evolutionary negativity by means of our neocortex, when we give a couple of positive options. So I'm suggesting, and by the way, before we start, I want to tell you, when we learn to expect a negative outcome, we get a negative outcome. And when people say that they attract this or that, or they have attracted this or that, in reality, it is just a habit your brain has developed. You do not attract. You are used to the negative results, negative consequences. Because the person who is used to this is located on the lifeline of the negative way of thinking, and as a consequence, a negative result. And if I'm constantly thinking about this, I will be getting this experience. So I don't attract anything. I'm just used to it. Now I will introduce you to a very nice exercise. Very useful for the neurotics who always underestimate their ability to deal with the situation. All right, let's trigger a certain concern, some sort of a worry, and start worrying. And now let's write out, based on your concerns, based on your anxiety, write out the worst possible result that can happen in your issue, in your problem. The worst possible result. The worse, the better. We're doing a great exercise. The worst result. Second, write a possible outcome of the situation. And third, write the best outcome, the best possible outcome. So you need to have three results of the situation, three outcomes. We have the worst, a possible one, and the best one. So what are you going to do now? And now you're gonna take the worst result, the worst one, the worst, and write a few words on how you will cope with it. The worst result. And please write down 3 ways of coping with this result. 3 ways of coping. First, such and such. Second, such and such. And third, how I cope with the worst result of your anxiety. For example, I'm afraid that he's gonna leave me. So the worst one is he broke up with me and cheated on me with my best friend or with a hot and successful lady and, I don't know, a model. To me, actually, I don't really care, but this is a popular concern among women, and women care about how other women look, stuff like that. And how have I coped with this? 3 results, 3 ways. What have I done to deal with it? How have I coped? 3 options. And very important, when you're writing those 3 options, you need to feel them, you need to process them, you need to... So what am I doing? What are my actions? How I am feeling, what I'm feeling, like if it's the best outcome, you need to feel it, you need to sense it. It's not enough to just write it. You need to feel it in detail. You need to process it. And visualize all those 3 options and how you've dealt with the worst result. Those 3 options and how you've dealt with the worst result. Well, if you're talking about death, we are all mortal. This is also coping with this by understanding that we will all die, we are mortal, we live, we die, and it's normal. We get sick sometimes, we all feel pain from our physical or emotional wounds. It's inevitable that we will all die one day, and we can be honest with ourselves and say to ourselves, right, becoming a ghost, going to hell or heaven, it's a bit far-fetched, don't you think? This is more of a myth or a story with no proof and not really functional. We are talking about the reality right now, how you will be coping with your results. You can't lie to yourself that you will become a ghost. Death of loved ones, it's also inevitable for all of us. Our moms and dads will die, our grandmothers, grandfathers, they will all die, and we will all be in the situation. And this is honest, this is an honest conversation right now. We are not thinking that we will all live forever, our moms and dads will live forever, and will never get sick, and will always be happy. This is a lie. Just think about that we are all archetypical. This anxiety about other people, we will also have an exercise about this when we worry about other people. We'll get to it later. Let's first finish what I've started here. I have prepared all the answers to your questions. No need to rush things. We will get there and you will understand how to deal with it. Next, moving forward, this exercise balances us out. Like I said, our brain is more negative than positive, and through this setting, it helps us survive, stay alive, right? It would be fair to give some positive outcomes for the situation of yours, since we tend to think that if we worry, it will end bad. That's why I worry, right? So please, next time you worry, please choose the exercise for yourself, or my colleagues from the academy can use it with their clients as well. Give this exercise as a homework or home task, so that every time your clients, your patients worry, they could, every time they worry, they could evaluate three positive outcomes of the situation. We need to teach our brain to refrain from the constant negative thoughts and think that it attracts trouble, but to teach it generate positive options, various positive options. Look, so anxiety is, yes, I'm either in the future or in the past, but definitely not right here and right now. Because right here, right now, we're safe. We're safe and sound, not hungry. We have food, we have food in the fridge. We're wearing cozy socks, stuff like that. We're sitting comfortably in front of our screens and we're working with our anxiety together and in peace. So we're here and now. And anxiety is somewhere far away in the past or in the future, when I'm not there. See, the world of a neurotic person is either in the past or in the future, never at present. And they detach themselves from this world by means of anxiety, by the glass of anxiety. So the world for them is not real. They do not filter reality, and their counterproductive anxiety makes them take wrong decisions, take wrong actions, and eventually they get tired of life. They lose love for life, and the life itself becomes whatever it is, but not good life. As if there's constant procrastination due to those energy-consuming thoughts, and they're unable to take proper action because the action loses any sort of value. What else does anxiety do? Look, what's happening here? You started writing about your anxiety. I'm telling you the positive outcome, and you're saying yes, but. So this yes, but is classic. It's a typical response of a neurotic. You're giving him a positive option, and they respond with yes, but, and they have 1,000 and 1,000 and thousands rationalizations about their anxiety. They have already thought of all the possible answers, and they are the devil's advocate. You will always lose a lawsuit with a neurotic if you feed them your positive options. You will keep saying such and such, getting them back to the positive reality, like be that your friend or your mother, your grandmother, your man, etc. You support them with your positive words, and they are like, yes, but, and 1,000 options of the negative outcome. Here you will always lose. They are the offense, and you are on the side of the defense, right? You are the defense attorney with your positive outcomes, and they are the prosecutor. You will never win. So what do? Turn tables. You change positions, let them defend the positive outcomes. The positive outcomes. Let them convince someone that the situation could resolve differently. So the main tools of the neurotic people are theorization and rationalization and so on. On one hand, they are overwhelmed by their anxiety from their reptile brain. This anxiety comes from the reptile brain. We have the anxiety is primitive. It's coming from the reptile brain. It's directed to save us. And neocortex explains and rationalizes to the neurotic person different negative events by means of negative metaphors, phrases, sentences, descriptions, metaphors, myths. That's why when a neurotic person says yes, but, you will say, right, horrible. That's horrible. And you will see that they will start saying, no, it isn't that bad actually. And you say, what do you mean not that bad? He's definitely cheating on you with someone. For sure. Look at that lady. He likes her. Look at yourself. Look at what you look like right now. And she'll be like, come on, no, I work out and he loves my fit butt. And you will see her becoming the defense attorney of your positive outcomes. Just stop defending the positive for a change and prosecute this one. Prosecute this one in conversations with your neurotic relatives, friends, or with yourself even. We have already done the exercise with 3 positive options for one bad outcome. So this one is similar. Right, so when you worry and rationalize, this is called instinctive paranoia. When we are overwhelming ourselves with a chain of negative thoughts. And now let's do another exercise, another practice, since we are more stable and adequate with other people's issues and we're less stable when it comes to us. Let's imagine that your close friend is worrying about something, and you can use your own concerns here. Imagine your friend is super worried. Imagine your close friend with your anxiety inside them. Your anxiety, right? Inside your friend. And now, explain to your friend that this anxiety is very irrational and give advice which would really help the friend. This is a technique from cognitive behavioral therapy called I'm from within. So you imagine someone else with your problem, and then you solve it by giving advice. So any advice. Basically, you just dissociate yourself. You dissociate and you look at the problem from a side and you give a useful advice. I think, okay, you can finish this exercise later. This exercise when someone is anxious about your concerns and you give them a very good advice, the one that really works. Every time we're looking at a problem from a distance, when we see it from a side, we see the solutions clearer. And when we're in this deep, it's harder for us to see the solution. A neurotic person is afraid to try different approaches. They're afraid of life itself, afraid to live. They're avoiding life, avoid scary reality. scary reality. And they are always, in theory, they're always rationalizing everything. That makes them lack practical approach in life, and in fact makes them just live in a fantasy. So the neurotic person is living in their own fantasy. They're not living in reality. They see everything through the goggles of their fears and worries. And this is such a distorted reality that it requires a lot of work, and a lot of work that we're doing right now. And trust me, the test is a lot cheaper than the calculation. That's why try and experiment in life and don't be afraid to take action. Now let's do another exercise right now. How to check the reality, because the reality of a neurotic person is distorted. So how do we check it? How do we check it? This reality. How do we check? Now let's calculate the possibility of the outcome for any of your concern, any of your concerns, anxiety. Please choose one issue that you worry about, and please indicate the percentage of the outcome. Process this anxiety, and process the result that you see, and indicate the percentage between the positive and the negative outcomes. For example, is it 50%, 50 to 60, negative to positive, or is it 70-30, 70 positive, 30 negative? Usually, well, now I understand that the experiment may lack its purity right now after we've done so many exercises and the anxiety is lower. So if you have difficulty triggering your anxiety, you can do this practice later. You can do this practice later. Right now, I will just explain the technicalities. Those who have a case for this practice, please indicate the percentage breakdown of the outcome. Well, let's say, well, it has to be more negative, right? Because usually the neurotic gives a negative result. It's usually 30% positive, 70 negative, or 80% negative, 20% positive. And we will check the reality of this forecast and how much it was pushed to the negative. It's a typical neurotic ways of thinking. Usually the neurotics think in negative forms, right? So the percentage of yours I don't need to see right now. This is just for your own information. Now you will be making a table. Look, so let's make a table. There are 4 columns. First one, we put the date and time here, up here. Or, okay, I will be showing you right here. Here we put date and time. Here we put date and time. Here we put our forecast, your forecast. I will write right here, your forecast. Your forecast. Here we have date, forecast. Third, the real result, the real result, the real result. And the last column, how do I feel? How do I feel? My feelings, my feelings. All right, so date, forecast.
Прогноз. Вот, видите, как я все накалякала неправильно. Блин, в этом не пойму, как...
Okay, let me rewrite this. Okay, how do I write this? Okay, I have the beginning here. All right. Okay, so date. Then we have forecast, the real result, and feelings. How do I feel after this? A bit crooked, but okay. All right, so date. What's today's date? Okay, December 19th. December 19th. 8 p.m. for example. 8 p.m. Forecast. Neurotic is always negative, right? Let's say I will never finish this webinar. I will never finish this webinar. I will never finish this webinar. This is the forecast of the neurotic. That's what they're worried about, right? Next, real result. When I'm planning something, and I started writing. So the real result, I wrote 7 pages. I wrote 7 pages. I have written 7 pages. This is a real result. And here let's also add date and time. Date and time. Date and time of the real result. So I finished 7 pages. And I put the time in here. Next, my feelings. How do I feel? I feel relief. It's a natural feeling here because here in the forecast I had my concerns, my negative result, and that I would never manage and that I would not be able to, stuff like that. Then I have the real result, which is inevitable. And the feelings, my feelings, I'm feeling light, relieved, and satisfied. So you get it, right? This table, this chart is important to you if you're a neurotic person with panic attacks. This will be the diary of your forecasts. Because a neurotic person devalues everything, even if they do something, they automatically devalue it. And here we have a diary with a record of your actions. And here, when I start looking at myself differently, I stop devaluating myself, or I devalue myself less. I see the real result and I see how I start feeling satisfied. And I can't deceive myself like a proper neurotic can do, right? Here we're coming to a revelation, that people with a tendency to worry do not tend to practice. They theorize everything. And in general, anxious people with panic attacks, can ease their condition via meditation. Meditation based on breathing. The meditation I will be giving you today will help you get rid of your panic attacks. Now, what is it about? You need to focus on your breathing, paying more attention to the exhale and stretching the hold. So, for example, if you focus, this is for the panic attacks, if you focus on your exhale, like I'm showing, I'm exhaling right now. I'm just seeing my exhale. I'm looking at my exhale. And once I have exhaled, I hold and I focus on this hold and I'm stretching it a bit. I exhale and I hold my breath and I focus on it. This is for the panic attacks. This is for the panic attacks. Now we will be doing a meditation. A meditation. And I will ask you to let one of your concerns or anxieties surface and focus on it. Start worrying. Focus on your breath. First, just observe it. Just observe. Do not interfere. And now try to make your exhale more relaxed. Let your body get fully relaxed at exhale. Notice how your belly gets relaxed with each exhale. And your face muscles are getting relaxed as well on exhale. Inhale and exhale with full relaxation. Watch your breath. Watch your breath making you more calm. And how it's calming itself in its natural rhythm. If you like, you can pay attention to certain areas. Relax your legs, your feet. You can do it on exhale. Inhale and exhale. Relax your arms, hands. Then you will inhale automatically and focus on exhale while relaxing certain body parts. Your eyes, your jaw, your shoulders. And now add your anxiety. Add your anxiety and worries and combine the two. Inhale, you focus on your anxiety. You focus on your anxiety. Exhale, total relaxation. Inhale, full focus. Exhale, total relaxation. Watch how your body keeps relaxing. And watch how you can allow anxious thoughts on inhale. Watch your thoughts. Look at them on inhale. And on exhale, feel totally relaxed. When you're exhaling, you're completely relaxed. And on inhale, you keep focusing on your anxious thoughts. Look at them. What are they about? Observe them. And exhale by letting go all the possible tension. You let go all the possible tension in your body, in your inner voice, your mind, If there is nothing on your mind right now, then focus on this emptiness. Inhale, focus on the emptiness. Exhale, total relaxation. Okay, so I have just showed you the Rinpoche meditation. What is a meditation? Meditation is maximum concentration with deep relaxation. So what is concentration then? We tend to think that concentration is tension. Because to concentrate on something, we need to get ourselves together. But in fact, it isn't tension. It's just your attention. And relaxation for us may be associated with laziness or something negative, something like that, that we cannot get relaxed. We have to be always in shape, focused. So relaxation may be associated with laziness, sleep, stuff like that. But the core of meditation is the combination of focus with deep relaxation. Right. So the neurotic person is afraid to lose focus. To lose focus and control of the situation. And this tension and control is so tiring that it makes them lose focus. So they think that they can control everything, but in fact they lose focus because this concentration consumes a lot of energy. And anxious thinking is very inefficient. And it's inefficient and exhausting. And that's why the life of a neurotic person becomes a constant procrastination, which makes it impossible to live. As you may have noticed, this meditation has a lot of control and has a lot of relaxation. And there is a great exercise called the diamond. But if you start doing this exercise for 15 to 20 minutes a day, also as a date with your anxiety, you can schedule a certain time for it for the Rinpoche meditation. Inhale, full concentration on your concerns, your anxiety, you watch and you focus on it, on your thoughts, dissociated with all of that. And as you exhale, you relax completely, maybe relax certain areas, your face, legs, you can just do it the entire body. Today we will do a lot of work, a lot of interesting work. We will get to know ourselves better through my metaphors. Sometimes a good laugh at yourself can be therapeutic. You can see yourself from the side and maybe make a different choice. Maybe you can act differently in certain situations. Happy to see everybody. I'm already recognizing your profile pictures. You know, I never check anyone's profiles, just to say more objective, you know, and refrain from any projections. I only read your words, your comments, your concerns, and I answer your questions, and I never check your profiles. I never check what you look like, what kind of woman or man that is. Sometimes I check the profiles of my haters when they write a negative thing to me. And they write such negative things to me that I think that behind this profile that there is a scary witch and unhappy with life. Crazy, crazy. And then you go to her profile and it's a beautiful woman with great pictures. And you think to yourself, what is missing in her life that she is spitting out poison on my page and is going all out? I understand that, of course, there is something behind it, and those of you who's been with me for a while understand those skeletons in people's closets, that there's jealousy, the person is unable to digest and process, and goes into attack because they cannot contain the success of the other person. Or maybe there is something that scares them. Sometimes this is the case actually, and people go into attack. And it's a reaction of a child because they are overwhelmed with their fear and they attack. Psychopaths, perverts have this type of behavior. So we perceive this with understanding. All right. Look, thank you for the compliments, and I see that there are questions already about the topic we discussed last time. I recommend you watch it again. And you know, this webinar is not really about watching it. It's not about doing the exercises once and forgetting about all of this and put a tick to it. No. This is an everyday practice. You need to rewatch this webinar 885 times so that all the exercises settle down and that you didn't have any more questions to me. I honestly open up and deliver the information in the fullest way possible. And you know what I do? I have my notes here, and when I have told you about something, I go over my notes again to make sure I gave you everything I wanted to give you today. Sometimes I even add something which may seem taken out of context, but I just want to make sure you have all the information there is to give, even if it's something minute, but it can help someone. That's why questions, yes. Please watch this webinar several times and you will have no more questions, so that we don't say the same thing over and over again. Why am I saying this now? I'm all for watching the webinars many times and practice and also take notes and write things down. It's very important. I write a lot of things down. Why do I always say write this down or write that down when you could just watch the recording of the webinar and it will be there? Because when you're writing something, your brain is getting involved more. I don't always explain why you need to do this or that, but if I ask you to write, please write. There is a good reason for that as well. Neurotics don't always require an explanation or theorization. In fact, it is their main problem that they demand an explanation due to their anxiety. Their anxiety is so strong that they run away from their sensation in the body, like what we have done when we meditated. We, by means of meditation, went back to our body, to our sensations. But neurotics avoid feelings and avoid sensations. They tend to theorize and rationalize. It's not that they like to do that, they tend to do that and they can't help it. And they try to avoid feelings and the ability to sense. And the world scientists have agreed that the Western world is, and we are the Western world is more anxious right now. We are more anxious than the Eastern world. And we are well motivated, and we do not need the amount of thoughts that the Western world needs to structure their spiritual worlds. They're in the spiritual world more, you know what I'm saying? And they're not really in touch with the reality, efficiency, goal making, time management. They're a bit between heaven and earth, you know? And the Western world is rather anxious and is always in their thoughts, and we are well motivated to take action. It's just someone is so stuck that they aren't moving on to action and they're procrastinating. They don't take action, and it's like a vicious circle. They procrastinate, they don't take action, and like I've already explained, it's due to their fears and habit to look for negative scenarios. Habits to look for negative scenarios, and that's why we will be living according to the scenario that we have chosen for ourselves. There is no magic about it. You aren't attracting trouble, or married men, or poor men. No, it is only because it's been your habit to choose such people, and when a nice guy comes around, you probably won't even see him. Or maybe you think he's too good for me, I don't deserve it. But you just didn't allow it for yourself. But what did you allow yourself? You allow yourself a man who is stingy, abusive, and fat. This is your comfort zone because you have already engraved on your brain this experience. And where did you originally take this? Of course, everything comes from childhood. This is all family systems, our parents' insecurities. And you know what's funny? That we don't live only with our own issues, the ones that we have acquired from our family systems. We also have obtained our parents' insecurities, which they have gotten from their family systems and passed them on to us out of fear and willingness to save their family system. You know, when the separation occurs and the child starts to separate from their family, there might be conflict. And why? Because our parents are afraid of this change and they think that they cannot live differently. They are scared of this. And we as kids, we're looking for ourselves and confront our parents, and our parents get scared and attacks us out of anger. And we get angry as well because they do not accept our system. And this is how the separation occurs between parents and kids. So those are who are fighting right now with their teenage children. This is absolutely normal. This is your kids separating from you. All good. Everything's fine. Right. About anxiety. So I suggest we go into our body and our feelings by means of meditation. So the meditation helps us get back into our body. Today I was thinking and let me turn off my phone. Okay, I was thinking today and I realized one thing. Why do people watch me? Why do they choose to watch me? Why do they watch my webinars? When there are high status ladies, and I've attended some of their webinars, and I saw that there were 10 to 20 people, 50 max. And I thought that was strange, such a respectable and interesting woman with lots of followers, and no one wants to watch it. And I was wondering, why are there so many people who come to watch me, who want to learn through me? This is because I live through the psychology that I teach. I apply it all to myself, and it's not really me who came up with this information. I became who I am through psychology and therapy, and by learning about it. And I've learned to practice and to live through what I read in books. And you're writing here that I'm awesome. And why am I awesome? Not because I wasn't awesome some time ago. I had panic attacks, I had fears, I was obedient in a way, I was an obedient girl. And you know, I never gave myself an option to choose a man because a man chose me. But basically I was like everybody else. But as you can see right now, I choose absolutely everything in my life. You see the result. I choose everything in my life, and it wasn't easy to come to it, but it's possible. It's possible, and there are many instruments to become happy and fulfilled, complete, not broken. with the ability to choose, to make a choice and to enjoy life with no illusions like those close your eyes and imagine such and such, without such illusions. I never teach you, and I never will teach you this, because this is all self-lies, and they trigger even more neurosis. You may have noticed that all the information that I've been giving you is all scientific data. All I've given you, those 25 sheets here, that's all collected from various sources, latest research, different books that I read. So I take the most useful stuff plus those which I have successfully used with my clients. So I have experience, and plus all of this is inside me. I see that people are attracted by this information and experience, and I don't have to prove anything to you because you see it all yourselves. So why am I saying all this? Not so long ago, I was a neurotic person who did not sense the world, and I am now seeing this clear line, and I want you to perceive it as well. And I'm trying to, by means of various metaphors, to let you feel this real life without neurosis, because this is such a subtle line, you know? Very subtle line. A neurotic person has a glass in front of them, and whatever they do, it's still there. It's transparent, but this is not the real world, which is healthy. It's not a real world of a healthy person. Without fears, without anxiety, without having to attack the world due to inability to process their fears, and their world is distorted. Distorted. A neurotic person does see the world just through the glass. Can you imagine looking at the world through the glass? It isn't enough. You see the world, you don't see it in full, you know, it's not, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you need to see it directly, you know, you need to be able to smell and taste it as well. Not like COVID. Remember COVID, when you lose your sense of taste and smell and you can't fully perceive the world? The same with a neurotic person who is living like life is incomplete. It's like you're eating and getting calories, chewing, and it's pretty, but you can't taste it. And I want to tell you about me right now. And me, when I was neurotic, this is the difference. Everyone has experienced the loss of smell at some point of life. When your nose was stuck, for example, or during COVID, and it's a huge difference. Huge difference. When you can smell and taste the life, when you get your sense of smell back, in analogy, the neurotic person gets cured, right? Gets cured, and you perceive the world differently and enjoy its beauty, and it becomes more fulfilling. And it's like a sphere, and the colors are brighter, you know, and it's such a euphoria. And cured neurotic state, when they get in touch with themselves, and all the exercise I'm giving you, it's to establish the contact with yourself, to encounter yourself, to discover yourself. All these exercises that I've been doing today are to establish this contact with yourself, to encounter yourself, to discover yourself, to be always in contact with yourself. Those exercises are not automatic. We are doing them now as part of this webinar, and I want them to become your usual practice. I want them to live with you, those exercises. I want them to live in you. This way your world will change, and no matter what happens, I often get questions like, how do you handle this or that? Right questions, and people start asking the right questions straight to the point, because the person in touch with their pure reality, not distorted reality. For them, any pain, any trouble becomes bearable and fixable. And neurotic cannot handle life experiments. They block themselves when it comes to feelings. What I'm saying, like it's like a regular thing. Like everybody knows those words already. Everybody has read this, and it's already been told and heard. But it's the truth. It's the truth. Please feel it. If you have fears or concerns, you need to do those exercises. You need to clean up your life, work with those exercises, implement them into your life. These are all super effective, super functional exercises. They really work, and they were not invented by me. They're all scientifically proven and the latest and the best. And they have been tested on me and my clients, the majority of them, anyway. So an anxious person, overwhelmed by unproductive anxiety, counterproductive anxiety, you do understand when I use those terms, productive, counterproductive, right? You should be able to differentiate by now if I'm talking about slightly negative things. This is probably counterproductive anxiety. Counterproductive anxiety makes a person lose control not only with their consciousness, but also all their systems, but also their body. That's why there are blockages and all that stuff, which leads to such consequences. That's why diamond is such an amazing exercise. It cures subconsciously, even if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what it's about. As long as you're doing it, you're getting cured, because it's important to go back into your body, back to the body. And the meditation is also great. It's the easiest one. Because with the diamond, you just need to sit down and do something. And this one is super easy. Say you're standing in front of the elevator and felt the arrival of an anxious thought. Well, of course, you can write it down on your flashcard and work with it later during the day on your date with anxiety, where you worry for 30 minutes straight. Meaning controlling your anxiety, but by conjuring it yourself. Now it's not anxiety that comes uninvited. It's you who invite it to come. You can just stand in front of the elevator, and then you just inhale and concentrate on your concern, and exhale to a complete relaxation, especially the belly. Our anxiety lives in our abdominal area. The belly is always tense. We don't let ourselves breathe. When we're anxious, this whole part tenses up, and our breathing becomes superficial. Our diaphragm is blocked, like I'm showing right now. Our lower rib area is blocked as well, and we're all tense, which is why relaxation is really important, especially for the belly. Exhale and hold for a little bit. Then inhale, focusing on your terrifying thoughts and observing those thoughts, how they're traveling inside us, how they're walking inside us. And it's very typical for a human being to have self-releasing thoughts. Thoughts that are self-release. They appear and then they self-release. And it's a natural process of a human. And your job here is to just observe. Watch how interesting it is. What is this nonsense that came to my head? It's normal for the thoughts to come and to go. And if they don't go, we just watch them and observe them. This is called awareness. Right now I'm talking to you about awareness. When we're aware, we let the thoughts be. Awareness is not about running away, repressing, trying to stay away from the thoughts, or being scared of our thoughts, taking spontaneous actions to make sure those thoughts don't become reality. because we're super scared. A neurotic thinks that all of their thoughts will become reality, right? Why are we so afraid? Because when we have our terrifying thoughts, we think that they will become true. Awareness is an ability to concentrate on what's going on in my head right now, and I'm looking at it and letting it be. Simply letting the thought exist. Why not? What's wrong with it? Here it's important to understand that having the thought doesn't mean it's going to become reality. It doesn't mean that it's your future. It doesn't mean you have to go do something about it. You can just observe it. Thoughts are sort of internal events which appear and self-eliminate. They're very subjective. And I also want to draw your attention to the fact that a lot of our thoughts that seem real are not even objective. Like, I will forever be alone. Ladies, come on, I know you think that way. But where's the reality in this? Where is it? There is absolutely nothing real or objective about that thought. This is just a purely subjective issue of yours, your own limiting belief, and the more you believe in it, the more you will be programming yourself to fulfill it. Now you do understand how it works, right? This webinar is really great. It's a prequel to the webinar I will have in January about fulfilling your dreams. Please come. This will be a continuation of this webinar in reality. So fulfilling your dreams is also a certain process, not that fairy tale bullshit that is just falling onto you from the sky, but for it to fall to you from the sky, there's a certain law that works, and how to make sure it does. Please come in January. I will teach you. Okay, so we distance ourselves from that thought, looking at it from a distance, and respond to it. Okay, we just respond. Okay, thought, okay, got it. Great thought, okay, and we're just looking at it and enjoying the process. Thank you, God, I have this in my head. You know, sometimes I'm thinking I have a weird thought like that, like, what is that? Like someone just put a spoonful of shit and put it in my head. And you're like, what is that? Who did that? And it can happen in my head for like 2 seconds, very rarely. And I immediately look at it and keep on living my life. Not pushing those thoughts away, not praying to avoid it, or vice versa. No. I just look at the thought. Okay, thought, got it. Just thought, moving on. Moving on. A thought is also a certain substance in your head. Don't apply it to yourself. Don't stick it to yourself. Just a thought. A thought is a thought, whatever. I've just thought this way. Okay, whatever. Or I just deal with my sadness this way, because sometimes we're just sad, and it's normal, we're humans. Why when we're sad, we start overwhelming ourselves with negative thoughts, and then this shit will definitely happen to me, and start escalating that thought process to a maximum, and more and more. But I'm just sad. Let yourself be sad. Write down for yourself that being sad is normal, and let yourself be sad and feel this sadness in your body, and don't create negative spins in your brain. Of course, I'm talking about what you're feeling, and that's what I was feeling before. I was living this life actually. And now this is not me anymore. I wasn't born like this. This is what I have accomplished with my own effort, my own hands, and I have come to this state, and I'm not some sort of a superhuman or a Wonder Woman. I'm just a mere human being, just like you are, and you can do that too. Right. So, this stuff like, oh, I'm a loser. I will never get where I want to get. I'm a bad mother. Just thoughts. That's just passing by. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Like that, we handle it like that. Now let's do an exercise about that. Please relax by breathing. Start breathing. Start breathing slowly, focusing on your breath. Focus on what's inside. And now notice the first thought in your head. The very first one. Notice it. And say to yourself, this is just a thought. And now please allow another thought. Any thought. Allow it. And now look at it and say, and this is also just a thought. And now deliberately think of something that makes you anxious. Do it on purpose. Allow such a thought. Acknowledge it and let go, because this is also just a thought. So this simple exercise just tells us that a thought is just a thought, and it doesn't mean that whatever concern you've thought about came true immediately. No, we're just sitting here talking and we're safe, we're here, we're now, we're fine, and whatever appears in our head, it just appears in our head, that's it. Such a simple exercise. What attaches us to a thought? Why do we suffer? Why do we suffer? Please write this down. Now, false beliefs that our thought equals future, that it will happen in the future. And what else? Why else do we suffer? That a thought implies an action. If we thought about something, we need to support it with an action. No, it's not true. It is just a thought. We suffer because a thought is some sort of our responsibility. None of that. A thought does not mean responsibility. It's just a thought. And you can think whatever you like. Anything. You have the right to think whatever you want. The most ridiculous things. The most important here is your actions. Which actions do you take in life? And you can think whatever you like. Even being upside down, figuratively speaking, of course. But think whatever you like. A thought does not equal responsibility. A thought, and some people think, equals forever. It will forever be in my life. You do understand that everything flows and it's simply impossible, unreal. Unreal. Nothing can last forever. Everything changes. Absolutely everything changes, and that a thought that you had equals the only option in life, and that's it. The only option. The only option. in life. No, it's not the only option. There are millions and millions of other options, and you just need to juggle the choices, like we did previously with options. Remember, looking at the worst and the best outcomes. Remember? Now, let me suggest a home task for you. Very good exercise. How to release energy from anxiety. I hope you understand the concept of anxiety. Do you understand that it is actually not anxiety? Anxiety is just a symptom which tells you that there is something important behind it that requires our attention. Something that requires a change, a certain contact, alteration. Anxiety is like a marker, like a yellow traffic light. It's blinking and letting you know, okay, now it's time to change levels. Now you have to either stop or keep moving. It's blinking and it's warning you about something. And it's not like anxiety doesn't equal energy. It's anxiety is energy, meaning, okay, so I'm anxious about something, and if I know how to deal with it, and I'm giving you the instruments, meaning you're releasing the energy hidden behind this anxiety. And a panic attack is for example, if I show you graphically, this is this much anxiety, like lead, and it's suppressing your energy, your feelings, and it's the absence of you. When I have clients with panic attacks, first thing I do is I try to get them connected with themselves a little bit, and they start telling me something, and I see that this person does not even exist in reality. They're not in contact with anyone. They're just being used in life because they don't know themselves, they don't feel themselves, and they don't know themselves, and their boundaries are stretched, and anybody else can just enter and can use that person to their liking and can do whatever they want with them, and the person's psyche is alive and it's reacting, but the person has suppressed it so deep in there, and that's why this panic attack is like a wake-up call. Wake the hell up. Wake up. Let me feel the pain. Let me feel the real fear. Let me just feel. We will also be learning about fear today, and we will be doing a very scary exercise, but it will lead to relief. So a panic attack is just a compressed anxiety. Anxiety squared, or I don't know, a lot bigger. And everything is so suppressed in me to the maximum. I do not exist. There's only a panic attack that is in control of me, and I am the panic attack. And I walk and I talk like a panic attack, and I do not exist. And the panic attack is you. It is you, right? People with panic attacks. You have transformed into this huge symptom. And that's why when you need to eliminate this panic attack, you need to at least give yourself a pinky, that you can at least move your pinky and say something like, oh, excuse me, may I please sit here on this chair, on this tip of the chair? You know, some women come to me and they're afraid to change lanes on the highway. Afraid because people will think, oh, what an impolite bitch changing lanes, and cuts me off. And she's driving with this fear because she isn't there anymore. She doesn't exist. She is already afraid to drive in accordance with the traffic rules. To turn on the signal and change lanes, and the cars are passing by and she's just driving there, cannot change lanes, not because she's scared that she cannot drive. It's because she's lost herself already and she feels like she doesn't exist, right? Like she can't do anything. Right, so there is this great exercise about energy, how to extract energy from the anxiety. So you take a couple of flashcards and write all of your concerns, worries, anxious thoughts on them, especially the counterproductive ones. As for the productive ones, what do? We take actions, right? I have told you before. Put up the wallpaper with just do it on it. Put it everywhere on your phone screen, wallpaper on your computer, in your room. Just do it. Take action. Yeah, put it the sticker on your door. Productive anxiety. Productive anxiety is absolutely normal. This is taking care of yourself when you really need to plan something. You need to do something, finish something. You just wake yourself up. You wake yourself up, and you take action. You give yourself a kick in the butt because here there are women who kind of work out, meaning they bought special clothing, gym membership for a year, and paid a lot of money, and they don't go there anymore at all, actually. And then they start feeling guilty and anxious because she's unable to push herself to go to the gym, to plan something, to schedule it. This is the productive anxiety. That's right. Be anxious. Be anxious. Because you need to get your ass up and take it to the gym. Because you paid for it. You bought the great workout clothing. Just go and work out. Go and work out. Or drinking water. Put a lot of bottles everywhere and not drinking it. Just looking at it, right? Feeling lazy to come up to that bottle and drink 1 glass of water. Knowing that we need to drink up to 2 liters a day. But the anxiety grows, right? Because I have given myself the task, not doing anything. So what do? We get anxious. We get anxious because we're not taking actions. That's why we put up the wallpaper in the entire house. Take action, and even if your friends are laughing, you just put it everywhere, on the ceiling, on the floor, on the doors, everywhere. You put take action, just do it everywhere. Signals from everywhere. Take action. Productive anxiety, just do it. Counterproductive anxiety, I've already told you what it's all about. So prepare the cards with things like stuff like, oh, life has no meaning, I'm a bad mother, will be alone forever, my husband's cheating on me, stuff like that. All your fears. All your fears that you have cancer, or those hypochondriacs that are watching, that you have this and disease and that disease, etc. Different diseases, parasites, whatever your fears are. Write them down on your cards and realize that on those cards you have a lot of energy. Super powerful energy. Super powerful. That's why I suggest, after having written the info on the cards, you have this card and you put the information on it, then you flip it, and then you take another card and you turn it over again, and I take another, and I have a whole deck of cards now, face down. And the meanings are over here. So I've written everything. I'm like a tarot reader. And then I take each card and I see, for example, oh, Cancer type 4. And I'm looking at it and I either rip it apart or I burn it. And when the fire devours the card, and it's great to perform this ritual in the nature, if you live in a house somewhere in the countryside, you can burn this and warm your hands over it. Warm your hands over this energy. That was just a thought that has a lot of energy behind it. Extract the energy out of this. I don't know how to call it. this tiny thought that was just passing by, and you got attached to it. So you just take it and you burn it and you extract the energy out of it, or you just rip it apart or throw it out and go for a walk to get some fresh air. Went for a walk, freed yourself up from these thoughts, threw them out in the trash, kept the energy. Kept the energy. So this is a cool ritual slash exercise, and it also helps working with anxiety, horrifying thoughts, and panic attacks. By the way, panic attacks are just a shithole where the person can't even identify their anxiety anymore. This becomes their natural state. They're living in it, like a fish in the sea, swimming there, enjoying life, but in fact enjoying something horrible that's around them. It's just like they're living in the sewer, basically. Just basically living in this. But the panic attack is a blast to draw your attention to the fact that you need to wake the hell up. Get up, life is passing by and you aren't living. So I'm suggesting 3 approaches to the thought. So we're looking at the thought and letting it go. We acknowledge the thought and we let it go. Second, we transform it into energy, right? Making use of the poison, lemonade out of lemons, spreading the ashes, whichever ritual works best for you. Someone prefers whatever, someone burns it, others eat it, throw it out of the window, put it in the neighbor's mailbox, whichever you find best, whichever you like best and perceive. And then perceive the thought as part of our natural being. Just comes and goes. Just comes and goes. And people who have reached the level of the self-release, the enlightened people, and I consider myself an enlightened person, just kidding, of course, but sometimes I really feel like I'm a Buddha who does not have any of this trash in her head, and if the trash arrives, I just look at it and say, thank you and bye-bye, nice meeting you, have a great day. Etc., etc. I see those thoughts perfectly. They do, to be honest, they come and go, and I don't even remember the last time it happened that I had such stuff in my head. And I'm actually taking things slow in my life. Well, yes, I work a lot, I have a child, I have personal life, I have a lot of events and different plans, creative ideas, a lot of things. A lot. But at the same time, it's located and scheduled in my life so well that there is no rush. There is no anxiety. Everything is just moving at its own good pace. The only thing, though, when I feel pain, I will show you soon. It's actually very interesting. In a couple of exercises, I will show you. I will show you how to deal with it. You will like it. And now we will learn about judgmental thoughts. Every anxiety comes with a serious judgment. There is a judgment. Why are we worried? Because if this is a positive judgment, then we want to hold on to it with both hands and teeth as well, and God forbid we lose it. And when we are attached to something positive, when we hold on to it with a grip of death like crabs, and we're holding on to it, we can't let go, this is also about anxiety. You know how much you're afraid to lose something in your life. So we need to understand how we need to think about this in this case. In the event in the event that we are afraid to lose something, something good, we're trying to hold on to it, we need to understand that we cannot hold on to anything because everything changes and flows. And it's impossible to hold on to something, and it's normal. It's a normal setting of the world. And when you're holding on to something, you want to control the world, and the world needs to adjust and accommodate you. And you are in such a childish behavior that you will go through another online marathon and you will be praying, doing mythological activities, just not to lose something, just to keep something. So please understand that if you're not holding on to it, you will not be suffering. And then you will not have to pray for anything, and you don't have to go to another marathon not to lose it. Or you will not have to spit out of the window 3 times and put in a red ribbon around your sanitary vase. You won't need any of that magic because everything is great either way. And another polarity here, that there is something super negative that we're afraid of, and we're afraid to be in touch with it in any way, and we try to stay away because we're afraid that it will stay with us forever. We push it away, God help me and get rid of it, stuff like that. We're running away from it, running away. So you need to understand that every bad thing can become a good thing over time. There is a story about a man who found a horse, and everybody was like, whoa, you're so lucky, found a horse, great luck. He says, oh, we'll see. Bam, his son gets up on this horse, falls off the horse and breaks his leg. Everybody's like, dude, so unlucky. And he says, we'll see. Bam, the war starts and all the men were sent to war, but his son stayed home because of his leg. And everybody's like, man, so lucky your son wasn't sent to war. And he says, we'll see. And this goes on and on. You can tell this story till the end of time, and who's in luck, who's not. And you will need to understand that everything in life changes, and if there is a negative event, it may still turn around in the best way. You know my stories. You know what happened to me. You know what happened in my life. And see how it all played out. See how it all changed for the best. Whatever I had negative in my life, it has all transformed into positive. That's why don't rush things. Sometimes you're late for something important and then you avoided a massive car crash. Or something else. Allow the positive in every negative. Allow this attitude. Thank God, just lost some money but kept my health. Or whatever. And whichever negative event happened, do not be afraid to allow the positive explanation. Do not hold on to anything in this life, neither good nor bad, because as much as the good can become bad, the bad can turn into good as well. But be in the moment, enjoy what you have. But in order to enjoy what you have, you need to get back on track. You need to get back in the state where it's not easy to say, just get back here. Hey, yo, be here with me. It isn't that easy, of course. For that, you need to develop a habit of being here and now, enjoy the warmth of the time you're in, the chair you're in, being alive and well, and thank God that everything is so great. And you're watching the webinar. Knock on wood, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Now, individuals with an anxiety disorder are afflicted with self-absorption. I'm always the center of my anxiety because every concern you may remember now, it's all about I. There's always I. Like, for example, let's see. I will never be rich. I will never finish this. I will never get married, etc., etc. There's always there's this self-centeredness in everything. So what am I suggesting? To find balance by means of society, similar issues. Thing is, when I'm giving you some examples, a lot of you are smiling. A lot of you are smiling. But a lot of people have similar issues. You know, when we touch base with the problems of other people, you agree with something, you comment, and you all see that a lot of people are going through the same thing, and this is really therapeutic, this thing, because we have similar issues with the society. She has the same issue, he has the same issue, everybody has the same issue, and I'm not alone. Anxiety is very archetypical. It's about the same thing that everybody has, just more or less, you know. In a group of people, most of the people will have the same issues. Most of the people. And that's why we're here. Not like we're all miserable here, full of anxiety. No. The whole world is this way. And any anxiety is archetypical. It has existed for millions of years. And that's why we all have the same issues. So I suggest we learn to think. We learn to think forgetting about our uniqueness in this case, because we are not unique in our anxiety and issues. See, yes, everybody has the same issues. You're right. Yes, I see the support of the girls here. See? We're not alone. We're not alone. We all have the same issues. And why do I have this many followers and we all like the posts? Because we all have similar issues. That's it. We aren't unique in our problems. There's also such thing as when we're worried about something, for example, in someone. For example, I'm just thinking whether I should give this exercise first for you to understand it better. Okay, I will explain this exercise later. Now about being worried about other people. When we worry about our mother's health, for example, or the health of our kids or relatives, someone's sick, dead, got robbed, and so we worry about other people, right? We worry about that. So I suggest an amazing practice. I saw a few questions in the comments yesterday and decided to comment on this today. I saw that, so I decided to comment. I saw what you were talking about. What to do when we worry about other people. Yeah, when we worry about other people. The time, yes, I see. Instagram shows me when it's time to finish, so I see that, no problem there. So I suggest you replace anxiety with compassion. Thing is, we put ourselves in the center of anxiety, which is self-absorption, actually. When in reality we just need to extract ourselves from this equation. Say, I'm worried about my mother's health. Now I extract myself from this equation, extract the I part, and start, open your heart and feel compassion for this. Compassion is a natural process. when someone is not feeling well, but anxiety is self-absorption. This is something like, I inside this activity. Mom is not feeling well, and I put myself in the middle. This is not very ecological. You know, why am I talking about myself here, you know? Those rescuers, you do understand who I'm talking about. When someone is being attacked and everyone wants to come to the rescue, I get involved in my friend's and her husband's relationship. I put myself in the middle. Why wouldn't I just have compassion? Open up to the pain. Pain is normal. Pain. Remember I told you earlier about my pain. What happens in my life when I feel pain? When my child is with a fever, you know, when out of a jumping around monkey, he becomes a child who is laying in bed and looking at the ceiling all red and the fever is going up. So there are anxious moms, you know, I've had seminars about that. Mother's anxiety, I'm talking about myself again, right? When I have compassion, this is the reaction and feelings of a normal, healthy individual. That's why I suggest you open up your heart, extract yourself from the equation of this anxiety, remove your self-absorption, and start being in contact with the other person, in contact, being close with them. Because when I'm experiencing a feeling towards another person and not only worrying about myself, this is me being in contact with the other person. Not by means of words, but via my inner feeling. Now we'll do another exercise. And I'm asking you to think about something that bothers you. Something you need to do, something that can get out of control. About something or someone, about something that can happen at work, or the child that's not doing well in school. Think about something that can get out of your control, that worries you. You can even close your eyes and start thinking about that. About something that can get out of your control. And now assume that you do not exist in this world. You're not here. Time and events go by. Life moves on, but without you in it. And tomorrow comes, sunrise, and you're not there. People are walking around, the sun is shining, there are cars around, but you've disappeared. And if you're no longer there, there is nothing to worry about. And if you worry about something right now, think to yourself, what is the point of worrying if you do not exist? So this is a tiny little meditation / exercise. Dissociation of a kind. And if we talk about it symbolically, this is a meditation of death. When I disappear from the world. Symbolic, very symbolic. Basically, I just extract myself from the anxiety. Next, I want to suggest we work on accepting our lack of confidence. That we are unable to know everything. And for a neurotic person, the unknown equals danger. You know that neurotic person would prefer to know that everything will turn out bad as opposed to waiting for the better result. They will feel better knowing that it will all go to hell than waiting for the unknown outcome. Any unknown for them, anything unknown, is something very bad, negative, and dangerous, not safe. Uncertainty in something is actually a very neutral information, a neutral story, because we never know what's going to happen. We never know what's going to be with our currency tomorrow. Will it rain? Will it snow tomorrow? We don't know what our friend will say when we come visit them. I don't know what my friend will do when we see each other. Uncertainty is something neutral. Because will our currency go up or down? Nobody knows. Nobody knows the actions and the words of the other people. But a neurotic person needs to know everything. They want to know sooner, and it's better to know the negative. Some of you may have heard, maybe it was in a book or memes or something, or maybe someone told me that a woman, when she's fighting with a man, and he leaves to catch some air or whatnot, but he intends to get back, of course. So he intends to get back. But she asks him, "Are you leaving me? You don't need me anymore, right?" So she needs the positive response that he will say, "Yes, I'm leaving you." She will feel better. She could have said, "Okay, honey, have a good one." And whether he comes back or not, for a neurotic person, it's impossible to handle. This is worse than death to them. Uncertainty is something dangerous and very heavy for them. Okay, this I've told you. So I suggest those who prefer the bad to the unknown, I suggest a mantra. I do not know for sure. So I have to say to myself, I don't know for sure. I don't know. Or that there is a chance that something negative may happen. So you accept that something bad may happen indeed, but like I said, something bad can mean some sort of growth for you, or it may lead to something good. Yes, any information, any action or any event is neutral, and you need to see it as neutral. And if we allow ourselves to think about the bad as well, allow various outcomes. And if we do not worry about it, but just allow for it to be, we stop being scared, to be honest. We stop being scared by that. We actually get bored with it. So if I scare myself enough, or when you see a scary picture, for example, you see it once, for the first time it's scary, right? Our brain is very interesting. The first time you see it, second time It's
Вот то
not
же
scary
самое,
anymore.
когда вы
Same
допускаете
thing when you allow a
реальную
negative
мысль,
thought
реальную, что ну
that
может
a bad thing
произойти
can
тоже
indeed
плохое,
happen.
ну и чё?
Okay, and when you
И когда вы
really feel it,
по-настоящему это
it stops
прочувствуете,
bothering
то
you
это перестает вас пугать.
and you stop being worried
И
about
тогда
it.
вы перестаете тревожиться об этом.
There is a very
Вот
effective
есть такое
exercise,
упражнение, очень
but
эффективное.
I don't know how well
Но я
you
не
can
знаю,
do that.
насколько вы сможете это сделать.
It is a home task
Это домашнее задание, это вообще дома делать, да? Допустить
to allow
какую-то
a certain concern
тревожность, которая
that
для
is the
вас самая
most dangerous for
опасная
you
и которую вы
and which
вот
is the
сложнее всего
toughest to
переносите.
handle.
Вот прям сложнее
The
всего.
toughest one.
Кто-то боится,
Someone
что
is afraid
муж
that their husband will
бросит,
leave
кто-то
them,
боится
someone's
заболеть
afraid to get
раком,
cancer,
кто-то там, не знаю,
whatever you
что
have.
угодно. Вот если вы
If you say
себе
to yourself
скажете,
that
что всегда
there is
есть
always a
шанс,
chance
что
that
так
it can
может
happen,
произойти, и если
and
вы
you say it
скажете
to
себе
yourself
ровно
200
200
times
раз,
straight,
ровно
200
200
times
раз,
straight,
вас
you will
перестанет
stop
пугать.
being scared of that.
Вам просто станет
You will
скучно.
just get bored.
Вот просто если вы
I'm warning
проделаете эту
you,
штуку,
I'm
поначалу
warning you, at the beginning,
будет очень
it
сложно.
will be very hard.
Но я делаю
But
акцент
I am
сейчас на том, что
emphasizing that
этот
this
страх
fear
должен быть
has to be the
самым для
toughest
вас
one to handle,
сложным, сложно
the
переносимым.
scariest one,
Это прям самый
the
страшный
scariest
страх.
fear.
И вы берете
And you
этот самый
take it
страшный
and you
страх и
say,
говорите, что
it
так
can
тоже может
happen,
произойти.
and you
Допускаете
allow
и
this
просто 200
outcome.
раз
And
это
you say
себе
200
говорите.
times.
200 раз.
200 times.
И когда вы
And
200
when the
раз это
200th
скажете, вам
time,
будет скучно, и вас это перестанет
you will
пугать.
get
Такое
bored
вот,
and
хорошее
you will
упражнение,
stop being scared by that.
терапевтическое.
Such an exercise, very therapeutic.
Невротик, как я уже
Like I said,
да, 200
yes,
раз
200 times in one go.
Невротик, как я
So,
уже
like I said, a neurotic
избегает
person
разных
tends to
эмоций.
avoid various emotions.
Он крутит
They're
мысли
obsessing with
для
thoughts
того, чтобы
in
как
order
раз
to avoid
избежать,
emotions,
уклониться
to
от
avoid
эмоций.
feelings
Во
and
всяком
emotions. They
виде,
maneuvering
так, чтобы, не дай
just
бог, в чувства не пойти.
to avoid the
Он
feelings.
страшно боится
They're
чувств.
super scared of feelings.
Приучает
They
себя
get
к
used
этому
to it
и
and they stop
перестает
being
быть
sensitive.
сенсорным, чувствительным. Вот.
And
И
by
беспокоясь,
worrying, by
волнуясь,
feeling anxiety,
испытывая вот эту
feeling
тревогу,
this anxiety,
невротик
the neurotic person is
избегает,
avoiding
уклоняется
their
таким образом
feelings.
от своих чувств. Лишь бы не
Anything
чувствовать.
to avoid feeling something.
Поэтому себе
So it would be good to make a memo.
пометочку сделать. Не слишком ли
Am
я
I
много думаю?
not overthinking?
Не слишком ли я много
Am I
мыслю?
sure I'm not thinking too much?
Чувствовать. Вот как бы
Feelings, I allow
позволь-
myself to
по-
feel.
хочу- позволяю
I
себе чувствовать.
try
Как-то
to
вот
remind
так вот
yourself
себе
about this, that you allow
меняйте,
yourself to feel.
что
Let's
давайте
think
меньше
less and feel
мыслить,
more.
давайте больше чувствовать. Вот
Those who
у
have
кого
trouble with
совсем всё плохо
feelings,
с чувствами,
please watch my
обязательно
webinar about
смотрите на мой
self-regulation of mental
15 процессов,
processes.
мой вебинар.
I can
Могу
actually
сделать,
make a
кстати,
promo
промокод
code
специально для
so that
вашей группы,
just for our
поставить
group,
там за
so that you
символическую
could pay a
стоимость
lower
при
price for
рассмотрении
that self-regulation of mental
вебинар
processes.
по
Those
саморегуляции
are
психических процессов. То есть это
those are the
человеки, которые
people who
не
cannot
распознают
identify their
эмоции, то есть нет
emotions.
эмоционального интеллекта.
They
То
lack
есть эмоции
emotional
не
intelligence, or it's very
Вот,
low.
поэтому
That's why it's
очень
very
важно
important to get yourself
вернуть
back
себя
to
к чувствам,
feelings. To
именно к
feelings.
чувствам.
Okay,
Так,
there was one more thing I wanted to tell you. Neurotic individuals
они
are afraid of
боятся
fear.
страха.
But the
Они
thing
боятся
is,
страха, но
thing
дело в
is
том,
that
что,
in order
чтобы
to take
как-то начать
action,
действовать,
they need to
нужно
feel
действительно
the fear
чувствовать
for
страх
real.
по-настоящему.
A
У
neurotic person,
невротика страх, он
their fear
такой
is an
тревожный
anxious
страх.
fear, but
А
fear
страх,
is actually
он
more
немножечко
vivid.
такой живой.
A
Вот у
neurotic
невротика
person
он менее
has a
живой,
less
не
vivid
то, что
fear.
менее,
It's
он
anxious
такой
fear.
тревожный страх.
And a normal person has a different fear. And I always tell my clients how great it would be to get scared for real. Because this fear is pushing us forward a lot better than our anxiety. Thing is, neurotics lack emotional, what do you call it? They lack emotional intelligence. Like I said, they are perceiving the world through the glass. Through the glass. And it's hard for them to perceive those feelings in other people, to connect with people. That's why when you allow a real fear in your life, this is a real vivid, real feeling. This kind of pushes you up from the bottom. You feel it and you start taking action. Fear is a great thing. Fear is when I can change something and take action. That's why don't be afraid of the fear. Just get really scared and start acting. Push yourself up from the bottom of that fear that you're blocking, and you try to suppress it, avoid emotions. And a lot of people are brought up to think that emotions are a bad thing, actually. That's what they're thinking. But thing is, if the person lacks emotions and feelings, they definitely have apathy, anxiety, and panic attacks instead. Emotions have a lot of useful information. Any emotion tells us about something important that's going on with us right now and how we can handle it and what we can do about it. And all of this you can see in my webinar, Self-Regulation of Mental Processes. So like I said, every emotion and concern is our need. It's our need that we aren't satisfying, but instead we're hanging on to this. I forgot the word. This unproductive anxiety. A lot of women are living with men and start being anxious about something. And they're always in anxiety. What is this anxiety about? She doesn't even ask herself because she's afraid to realize that she's uncomfortable with this person. She lacks contact with him. And this person is not a good fit for her at all. And what does she do? Instead of feeling this, she starts digging in within. She's looking for the problem in her. She's thinking that something's wrong with her. She's feeling guilty, ashamed. Something's wrong with her. That's why the women start doing. Instead of when we feel anxious, maybe this anxiety is telling us something, but we prefer self-flagellation instead of realizing that this man is not my man and has not been my man for a while, and I didn't even choose him, and it just happened. So you know how this can happen. And that's why right now I suggest we practice. Please remember a certain concern, worry, anxious thought, and start thinking about it. Start worrying. Start worrying. What is bugging you? What is this anxiety you have, this concern? And now, think which feelings you're trying to avoid. this unknown anxiety. What are you really running away from? What can that be? The thing is, behind anxiety, there is a moment of truth. And right now, it's a moment of truth. What am I running away from? Which feelings am I afraid to process? Everyone has realized for themselves right now a certain feeling. If it didn't work, try again later. It is really about being honest with yourself, about something that I'm hiding from myself. What is it that I'm hiding from myself? What don't I want to show? Process. This is the truth. A neurotic person usually thinks that they cannot handle something. A neurotic person is looking at something bad and thinking they will not be able to handle it. You get it, right? But in reality, I'm gonna tell you, they will be able to handle it. You know, they don't believe it, but it actually is true. You can handle it. You just need to start doing something about it. You need to stop being scared to see the picture of the negative outcome. I'm now making large pauses so you could feel it better. Because in anxiety, we want to rush things. We want them to be over sooner. Veronica's saying something, pausing a lot, whatever. What's she talking about? Or like, whatever, this webinar is almost over. It's because this is going to be happening now. Because the worst outcome is very scary to look at. And why? How? Because we think, how can I handle it? What if I can't handle it? What do you mean? Yes, you will, like everybody else coped and handled in all times. Spare yourself the illusion that you cannot handle life. You can. And stop fooling yourselves and others, especially yourselves. And now I will suggest we do a difficult exercise which will trigger severe anxiety. But then you will feel better. I'm warning you. This is our last exercise, exercise number 13. Great number, by the way. I'm asking you to close your eyes and think, what if the worst happens? For example, if you're afraid to get a brain tumor, can you imagine the type of death from the brain tumor? Exactly from this disease. Make a visual image of your death. I know it's scary, but this is a therapeutic exercise not created by me. This is a scientific exercise. It helps ease the anxiety. Everything we're doing right now is useful. A visual of your death from brain tumor. Sounds horrible, I know. But despite it all, just imagine and repeat after me. There is always this probability. There is always this probability. And this visualization is therapeutic. You can do that for 10 minutes. This is your home task. So, in this exercise, you can insert your scariest fear. Behind every fear, there is a fear of death. But you need to understand that when we accept death, this is our natural. This is our natural thing. We will all die. Our relatives will die. We need to learn to process that. When we look at our fear directly, without fooling ourselves that it will never happen, we become free from this fear. This is the cure for our fear, and we keep living our lives. Now about materializing thoughts. Please watch this part again where I said that a thought does not equal reality. A thought does not equal future. How many times have I said that? A thought is just a thought. So I'm suggesting you watch this webinar 888 times, and then you will have no more questions, either to yourself or to the other people, and you will live a great life if you watch this webinar 888 times. And you will stop this bullshit about material thoughts because you've watched too many videos of people who say that they are. That's why focus on reality. The reality. And a neurotic person has what? Nothing is real. They have their own prism of the world, especially if there is someone who is throwing firewood in the fire of his own fears. This is their best friend. Stay away from such friends who connect with you by means of fears and anxiety, concerns. Filter your friend list. Just filter. Okay. Don't be the defense of the positive, like I said. You can say, yeah. Like I said, become the prosecutors. You will see the person will start resenting. And for yourself, set up the rules that we've learned today. There are 13 exercises. 13 exercises. And you will not find a webinar this informative. It just doesn't exist. There is no more information about anxiety and panic attacks. No one will give you a better product. Don't even look for it. Work with this information. Watch this webinar 888 times. Enjoy every exercise. Start perceiving this world not through a distorted reality, but through a vivid reality.
А настоящее
through a
животное,
vivid reality.
не знаю, как еще сказать,
Don't know
животное.
how else to say it.
Скажите,
Now,
пожалуйста,
please let me
самое
know
классное
which
упражнение,
exercise was the most
самое
useful
полезное,
today.
на ваш взгляд,
Which
какое вы
one
для
did you
себя
point out?
выделили?
The 12th.
12-е.
The
Дневник.
diary. Flashcards with
Писать
fire,
днем,
right?
да.
Diary.
Дневник полюбился.
The baby,
Младенец
okay.
полюбился. Про
About the
дыхание.
breathing,
Дыхание,
the
да.
most powerful.
Самое
The most
мощное
powerful
последнее.
one was the
Оно
last
правда
one.
самое мощное.
It was
13-е.
indeed.
Это не то, что
It's
вам так
not
понравилось, что
just
оно
you thought
мощное,
this
что
way.
оно
It
реально
actually is
самое
the most
мощное. Оно
powerful one.
самое
It's the
сильное
most
принятие
powerful.
смерти.
The acceptance of death.
Допущение
Allowing
этого – это
death
самое
makes you a
сильное, тогда
strong
становитесь
person.
свободным человеком от всего этого.
The
Шестое
sixth,
упражнение.
I can't
Я
remember
не
the
помню,
sixth.
какое там шестое было. Что мысль
The
– это
thought is a
просто
thought.
мысль, да? Смотрите
Watch the
тревогу, что
anxiety.
боюсь почувствовать.
Rinpoche
Медитация Ринпоче,
meditations.
да, карточки тоже.
Flashcards.
Карточки,
Flashcards.
исходы
Outcomes,
событий,
3
тревога,
options.
мысли, что это
Thoughts are
просто
thoughts,
мысли.
yes.
Чем
How does the
заканчивается
13th
15-е
exercise end?
упражнение? А
No
ничем.
end, really. You just
Допущение
allow the
смерти
idea of death
от рака головного
from brain
мозга.
tumor. That's
Всё.
it.
Принятие
Acceptance of
смерти.
death. Encounter
Свидание с
with the
тревогой.
anxiety. Allowing
Отпускать страх.
fears.
Да,
Yes,
это нормально,
it's
естественно.
normal. I have a date
Эти
every
свидания
day.
расписаны на
Great.
каждый
See,
день,
you're in demand.
зафиксированные.
All
Ну
right,
что
my dear
ж,
friends.
мои дорогие друзья, я
I'm
очень
very
рада, что у нас
happy we
состоялся
have
этот
had this
вебинар, очень
webinar.
крутой, на самом
It
деле
is really
классный,
great
и
and
я буду
awesome,
очень
and I will be
рада,
very
если вы
happy if
будете
you
мне
write
иногда
me
писать о том,
sometimes how
как
your anxiety is
живет ваша
feeling,
тревога, как вы с ней
which
справляетесь, что
exercises you're
получается,
doing,
что не
how it's going for
получается.
you, and
И
write a few
напишите
reviews about
отзывы
this
об этом
webinar so
вебинаре,
that more
чтобы
people
как
could
можно
watch it.
больше людей посмотрели.
The
Потому что
fewer
чем
anxious
меньше людей
people to
вокруг
ride
нас
around us,
тревожников,
the less
тем
we attack the
мы, так
anxious
скажем, тоже
people.
не набрасываемся на тех, кто
You
начинает
know, there's some
тревожиться.
sort of
Потому
a
что
chain
такая цепная
reaction
реакция,
when
если вы
someone is
боитесь,
scared, we get
начинаете что-то
scared.
смотреть, это
This is
эволюционно.
an evolutionary
Задумываем, что
effect.
где-то опасность, мы сразу туда
We
все свое
focus on that
внимание,
too
больше
much and
туда
try to protect ourselves as
тревогу
well,
нашу,
get
туда
anxious,
наше
stuff like that.
нападение, если это начинается как защита.
And
Вот.
just
Да и
in
вообще,
general,
как
you
бы
know, you
сделать
can
доброе
do a
дело,
good
не
deed, write a
написать
positive
хороший
feedback
отзыв
about the
о
webinar.
вебинаре, я
I don't
думаю,
think
что
it's so hard for you to do.
это не совсем сложно будет для вас.
Thank you
Спасибо
all
за
for your
внимание.
attention.
Со всеми
Goodbye.
прощаюсь.